Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Black Friday Cyber Monday session on ad spend, and my name is Taylor Clark. A lot of you know, and if you're new, you're going to find out ads get pretty expensive when it comes to Black Friday Cyber Monday for retail. So we really want to be smart about how we're budgeting. And a lot of the news out there indicates that spending now or earlier and not later is actually going to be much more rewarding from an ROI perspective. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that you should be advertising your Black Friday Cyber Monday discounts tomorrow, but what you should be ideally doing is starting to spend now to collect more email addresses so that when Black Friday Cyber Monday comes around, think back to that statistic above where 25% of all sales start with an email. This is where we really start to get people at a much lower cost now as opposed to trying to spend in November. And there are some pretty interesting statistics on this slide. A little bit old data, but only increased now, of Kohl's having spent $340,000 in ad spend in October and $11.2 million in November. Target $785,000 in October, jumping to $9.6 million in November. So just an understanding of how much these brands start to ramp up their ad spend on Facebook, Google, etc. In preparation for November. It's going to be difficult for us to compete with them at a reasonable cost. And then a couple of things that are upcoming for 2020 that I think are going to have a major impact. So kind of keep your eyes open as to when things like this are announced. But Amazon Prime Day is being pushed to Q4, or was pushed to Q4. There's not a specific date yet, but just keep in mind that Amazon could decide, hey, you know what? We're going to do our Prime Day on October 15th. Then what? If people only had a $500 budget for their holiday shopping, a bunch of that budget is going to be depleted by the time Black Friday comes around. So make sure you're ready and agile in a sense like this, where we can start to say, hey, all right, Prime Day is doing this, we got to react as well. And then some major retailers so far, Macy's, the one I've heard of, have actually said that they're going to be announcing their holiday sales in October. So that just means other people are likely going to follow. Ad prices are going to start to go up in October. So just make sure, again, that we're kind of prepared for some of these earlier promotions, specifically around some COVID things that we're seeing. A few other stats here just to kind of highlight the early spend that we see. You can just see down here that this is even in the first 2 weeks of November, the first 12 days, not even the week leading up to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. We're seeing a lot of these brands start to already spend in the millions of dollars just in those first 2 weeks. So another good example of maybe it's time to get ahead when it comes to our ad spend. And this is a COVID-related, news bit here. A lot of the large retailers, Walmart, Best Buy, Kohl's, and only more to follow, are actually closing their doors, their brick and mortar doors, on Thanksgiving Day. So, what does this mean if they're not going to be able to collect those tens of millions of dollars that they're getting from brick and mortar? They're going to be shifting their focus towards their digital marketplaces, which AKA is higher spend to get more people to go to those digital marketplaces. And then the final kind of ad-related graph I'll show here is just the increase of the CPM week over week. This is courtesy of sumo.com. This is a great article. I shared it on Twitter earlier. Definitely worth reading, even if it is 2017 data. But you can see even the third week of October, which isn't all that early, $9 per average CPM. And even from the third week of October to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, that doubles, right? So it's just, how much are you willing to spend? Are you going to be able to get good placement for what you do spend? And then the stat on the right here, Washington Post reporting that millennials were the biggest spenders last year, spending on average $420 a person. The reason I point this out is that even if this isn't your target demographic, maybe you skew a little older, younger, whatever it may be, keep a good chunk of your budget set aside, or maybe not a good chunk, but keep some of your budget set aside to target these gift buyers. They may be buying for their mother, their family, their friends. Even if they wouldn't buy from you normally, they're going to look at your ad and say, oh yeah, that would be really good. Because a lot of that $420 is spent on gift giving as opposed to things for themselves. So make sure we also allot some budget for those highest spenders out there. So what are kind of the final thoughts on ad spend? Start planning now. Don't get hit with a surprise that all of a sudden Prime Day has been launched and they're already undercutting the Black Friday, Cyber Monday deals. Be ready for that. Spend early to avoid competing with the giants. If you are a Google Analytics shop, initially the conversion rate may look poor as people aren't necessarily going to buy right now. They may be waiting for that deal in November, but the delayed attribution will increase over time. Definitely can't harp on this one enough, but make sure you're collecting email addresses at all cost. There are still individuals, and I get it, that have a negative stigma towards the concept of a pop-up form or a slide-in, but this is how you compete with those giants. You get people to come to the site now, give you their email address, so that when Target spending $15 million on ads in November, guess what? You already have their email address. So send them an email with a great deal, great message, things like that. So just make sure you're collecting email addresses now. Make a huge difference. And then kind of unrelated, but I thought important, is make sure you're creating some bundle products so that you increase the ROI of your ad spend. The concept of a bundle product is something like, hey, 10% off $100, 20% off $200, 30% off $300, whatever it may be. Or here's my top 2 selling products. If you buy them together, you get 10% off, whatever it is. But the reason for this is that, let's say your cost of acquisition is $60 a person, for example, and they come to the site and only spend $65. That's not the greatest ROI. But if you can incentivize them to spend $120 on a bundle product, that makes the ROI of your ad spend look a lot better, getting more of that revenue in. All right, and thank you all very much for joining, and stay tuned for more content.